There's something about mornings at the corner cafe, how everything feels half awake. The espresso machine hisses, chairs scrape the floor, and the same song from last week hums low under the chatter. I always sit by the window. Same spot. Same cup. She noticed that first. I didn't expect her to talk to me, she looked like someone who already had a full life. Mid-40s, maybe. The kind of calm that comes from living through things you don't talk about. She wasn't flashy. Just, composed. A quiet scarf, hair tied back, sleeves rolled, reading glasses perched where they didn't need to be. The first time she spoke, it wasn't much. You always order the same thing, she said, setting down my mug before I'd even reached the counter. I laughed. You keep track of that? Only of people who never change, she replied, almost to herself. After that, we didn't say much. She worked behind the counter, maybe part-time, maybe for something to do. But over a few weeks, something small started to build. A rhythm. I'd push open the glass door, she'd glance up just once before looking away. She'd remember how I took my coffee, 1 sugar, no milk, before I even said good morning. It wasn't flirting. Not really. More like recognition. Like we'd both seen something in each other we weren't supposed to admit. Once, she asked what I did. Graphic design, I said. Mostly freelance. So I talk to my laptop more than people. That made her smile, faint but real. That sounds quiet. It is. She nodded like she understood too well. There was a man who came to pick her up sometimes, silver car, suit jacket on the passenger seat. She'd walk out with her head lowered, untie her apron, and slide in without looking back. I never asked who he was. I didn't need to. I started noticing small things, the mark her wedding ring left when she took it off to wash cups, the way she always wiped the counter twice before closing, the way she stood still when the cafe emptied, as if she wasn't ready to go home. One Thursday, she asked, "You ever feel like you're just visiting your own life?" I didn't know what to say, so I folded my napkin into smaller and smaller squares until it couldn't fold anymore. She looked at my hands. "I do," she said. "Most days." That night, I sat in my car longer than usual, watching the cafe lights fade. I drafted a text I didn't send, "You looked tired today. Are you okay?" Then deleted it. The next morning, I found a small smudge on my shirt collar, faint, pinkish, near the button. Lipstick, maybe. But I hadn't seen her that day. I hadn't seen anyone. Before I could think too hard, my phone buzzed. It was her. "Don't come in tomorrow." Then nothing else. I stared at the screen, the cafe window reflecting in it, the same place where everything had started to feel less empty. And for the first time in months, the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt like a warning. I didn't go to the cafe the next day. Or the one after. But by the third, I gave in, pretending I just missed the coffee, not her. The sign on the door said closed for cleaning. Inside, chairs were stacked on tables, lights dimmed. She was wiping down the counter, slow circles with a damp cloth. "You got my message," she said without looking up. I wasn't sure if it was meant for me. It was. She paused. "Something happened. I didn't want you walking in the middle of it." I nodded, pretending I understood. She didn't explain, and I didn't ask. The silence between us already felt heavy enough to break. She finally looked up. "Do you always take things so personally?" "Only when they feel personal," I said. That made her laugh, soft, surprised. The kind of laugh people give when they forget they're not supposed to. I offered to help her finish up. She didn't say yes, but she didn't stop me either. I grabbed another cloth, wiping tables while she moved quietly behind the counter. We worked side by side, not talking much. The kind of silence that says more than words could. At one point, she asked if I ever thought about leaving, not the cafe, but the city. Sometimes, I said. But then I realize I don't really have anywhere to go. She leaned against the counter, drying her hands on a towel. That's the thing about staying too long in one place. You start thinking it's the only place that'll have you. Something in the way she said it felt personal, like a memory she didn't mean to share. She caught me looking. Don't start analyzing me, she said. I wouldn't know how, I said. I barely understand myself. That earned another small laugh. She made tea after that, said the machine needed a break from all the coffee. She poured it into 2 chipped mugs, slid one toward me. It's jasmine, she said. My mother used to drink it when she couldn't sleep. Does it help? I asked. Sometimes, she said. Sometimes it just reminds you you're still awake. We drank in silence. I watched the steam drift between us, her reflection in the window merging with mine. When she set her cup down, I noticed her hand trembling slightly. I wanted to reach out, just to steady it, but stopped halfway. She noticed anyway, her eyes flicking toward my hand, then back to the counter. You're kind, she said finally. That's rare. I almost said, you make it easy. But something in her expression told me that would have been the wrong kind of truth. Instead, I just smiled, folding the towel neatly and setting it down. She mirrored the gesture, quiet symmetry. When I turned to leave, she called after me. Hey. I looked back. She just said, next time, don't come as a customer. I nodded, not sure if she meant it as an invitation or a warning. I still don't. But I remember the way she looked at me then, steady, unflinching, and I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. She started leaving the cafe door unlocked before opening hours. Only because you always come early, she said once. But her tone wasn't teasing. More, uncertain. So I started coming earlier. Pretending I didn't notice the invitation hidden in her words. Those mornings were quieter than any others. Just the hum of the fridge, the faint echo of rain against glass. She'd be wiping cups, hair still damp from the shower, the faintest trace of perfume, not sweet, but clean. Like something that lingered without trying to. I'd sit at the counter while she prepared things. No rush. No need to fill the air. You look tired, I said one morning. She didn't look up. He's been home more lately. The first time she'd mentioned him since I'd known her. The husband, I guessed, the man with the silver car. I didn't answer. Just watched her stack the cups. Her hand slipped slightly, one nearly falling. I caught it before it hit the floor. Our fingers brushed, not enough to mean anything, but enough to remember. She froze, then smiled like nothing happened. Quick reflexes. Years of dropping things, I said. But neither of us pulled our hands away right away. That's when the bell above the door jingled, too early for customers. Hey, said a voice. It was her coworker, a younger woman who worked the afternoon shift. She froze when she saw me there, then glanced at her boss, eyebrows raised. Didn't know we were open yet, she said. We're not, the woman replied quickly, stepping back from me. Just, finishing prep. The girl shrugged, heading to the back. But the air shifted. Whatever fragile thing we'd been balancing on, it cracked a little. I offered to leave, but she shook her head. Stay. You already came this far. Her voice was soft, but something behind it sounded tired, not of me, just of what this might become. We went back to pretending things were normal. But the rhythm was off. Too careful. Too polite. When I got up to leave, she stopped me. Wait. She walked around the counter, close enough that I could smell the tea on her breath. She adjusted the collar of my shirt, a habit she didn't have before. Her thumb brushed the fabric where the lipstick stain had been. "It's gone," she said quietly. "Yeah. I washed it." She nodded, eyes still on the spot. "Good." I wanted to ask what she meant. Why her hand lingered. Why her voice shook when she said good. But she stepped back before I could say anything. "You should go," she said, barely above a whisper. I nodded and turned toward the door. My reflection stared back at me from the glass, her standing behind, still watching. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she said, almost to herself, "You shouldn't look at me like that." I opened my mouth to answer, but couldn't. Because she was already walking away. It was raining the evening she asked me to walk her home. Not far, just a few streets away. The café had closed early, lights dimmed, streets washed silver with reflections. She held her umbrella too high, like she'd forgotten how to share space, so I tilted it lower. The air smelled like wet pavement and something else, the kind of scent that makes you think about things you shouldn't. She talked about nothing at first. The weather. The broken coffee grinder. The fact that she might stop working weekends. I listened, watching her hand tighten around the umbrella handle every time she mentioned home. "Your husband," I said finally, before I could stop myself. "Does he know you still work here?" She didn't look at me. "He doesn't ask." "I don't tell." Silence. Rain hitting metal. The slow rhythm of two people walking toward something they couldn't name. "I saw you that morning," I said. "Before you texted. You were crying." She stopped walking. The umbrella tilted, raindrops hitting her hair. "You shouldn't have seen that." "I didn't mean to." She smiled, but it was the kind that hurt to look at. "That makes it worse, doesn't it?" We stood there under the rain, not close enough to touch, but close enough that I could see the way her mascara had smudged faintly beneath her eyes. "Why do you come here every day?" she asked suddenly. "You could go anywhere." I opened my mouth, then stopped. Because I didn't know how to answer without saying you. She turned away, stepping toward a bench under a streetlight. The kind of bench people only sit on when they don't want to go home yet. I followed. We sat, the umbrella balanced awkwardly between us. "I used to think loneliness was something you could fix," she said. "You know. Work more. Sleep less. Buy new furniture." She laughed softly. "Turns out it just follows you around in better clothes." I stared at my hands, rain sliding off my jacket. "You make it sound permanent." Maybe it is. The streetlight flickered once, catching the gold in her hair. Her voice dropped lower. "When you come in, it's the only time I don't feel invisible." She said it so quietly I almost pretended I didn't hear. But I did. Every word. And before I could stop myself, I said, "You're not invisible to me." That made her look at me, really look. The kind of gaze that makes your chest tighten because it feels like the truth's finally out, even if no one said it. She reached for the umbrella, her hand brushing mine. Neither of us moved away. The rain softened, and for a second, the world went quiet, just breath, and the sound of our hearts deciding what to do next. Then she whispered, "Don't make this harder." I wanted to say, "It already is." But the words wouldn't come. So we just sat there, two people who'd run out of ways to pretend, letting the question hang between us. Unspoken. Heavy. And alive. She stopped coming to the café first. No explanation, no message. Just absence, the kind that starts as curiosity and grows into ache. For a week, I told myself she was sick, or away, or busy. Then I saw someone else behind the counter. The cups arranged differently. The smell of her jasmine tea gone. She quit, the new girl said when I asked. Didn't say why. Just left a note for the manager. I nodded like it didn't matter. But it did. The next morning, I parked near her street. Told myself I'd just drive by once. Just to know. Her car was there. Lights off. Curtains closed. It looked like she hadn't been anywhere in days. I didn't knock. That night, I drafted a text again, "You okay?" Deleted it. Typed "I miss you." Deleted that too. Then the next morning, a message came, from her number. "Please don't come here again." No punctuation. Just that. I stared at it so long the words blurred. Then noticed the faint lipstick mark on the corner of my phone case, the same color that once smudged my shirt. I hadn't cleaned it properly. She'd noticed. Of course she had. A few days later, I saw her by chance, near the bookstore downtown. She wasn't alone. A boy, maybe 18, 19, stood beside her, talking fast, hands moving the way people's do when they're angry but trying not to be. Her son, maybe. He looked like her around the eyes. She saw me before I could look away. Something unreadable passed across her face, surprise, regret, warning. She said something to the boy, who turned, glanced at me, then walked off. She didn't follow. I approached slowly, like she might disappear if I moved too fast. "You weren't supposed to see that," she said. "Wasn't supposed to see a lot of things," I replied. She smiled weakly. "He found the messages. Between us." My stomach dropped. "You mean, he thought you were someone else?" She hesitated. "His father's mistress." The words hit like cold water. I didn't know what to say. The lipstick. The text. The warning. It all shifted into place, something darker than guilt. "I tried to explain," she said. "But he's angry. And maybe he's right." I let it go too far. We stood there, between strangers and traffic noise, the world moving on around us. "I should have told you," she said. "From the start. You reminded me of him. Before he stopped seeing me." It wasn't a confession. It was a sentence being finished too late. She looked like she wanted to reach for me, but didn't. I did the same. We both failed to move. She turned away first. "Take care of yourself, okay?" I nodded, though she wasn't looking anymore. When I got home, I opened our old chat, scrolled through the unsent drafts. "You looked tired today. I miss your tea. You're not invisible to me." I didn't send any of them. Just stared at the blinking cursor, that small, waiting pulse. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused. Like life forgot to finish the sentence. It was late when she showed up again. I heard the knock, soft, hesitant, the kind that waits between each tap, like it's asking permission to exist. I almost didn't open the door. Part of me wanted to leave it unanswered, let it fade like everything else. But I did. She stood there, no umbrella this time, her hair damp from drizzle. No makeup. Just her. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I stepped aside. She didn't move far, just stood in the small entryway, dripping water onto the tile. Her hands twisted the strap of her bag like she was holding something heavier than it looked. "I shouldn't be here," she said. "I know. I thought about not coming. I figured you would." She looked around the apartment, sparse, half lived in. The kind of place where silence collects. "You live small," she said. "Easier to clean up when someone leaves," I said before realizing how that sounded. She didn't react. Just walked to the window, stared out at the streetlights. Her reflection floated next to mine. My son's not talking to me, she said after a while. He moved in with his father. I didn't know how to respond, so I made tea. It felt like something she'd understand, the motion, the waiting, the heat. I handed her a cup. She smiled faintly. You remembered Jasmine. I remember things that matter. We stood there, steam rising between us, saying nothing. Then she spoke again, softer. When I told you that you reminded me of him, that wasn't fair. You're nothing like him. Something in her voice cracked then, not loud, just enough to make the air change. You made me feel seen again, she said. And that scared me. I didn't want to need that. I set my cup down, fingers tight around the handle. I didn't want to be someone's reminder. I know, she whispered. But you became something else. Her hand moved slightly, brushing against the edge of the counter near mine. Close enough to feel warmth, not touch. I kept thinking, she continued, maybe if we'd met at a different time, we'd still ruin it, I said. Just differently. That made her laugh, softly, like she hadn't in weeks. Then she nodded, eyes glassy. I came to say thank you, she said. For seeing me. For not asking for more. I didn't answer. Just looked at her, this woman who had become a quiet ache in every corner of my days. She stepped closer, not to kiss me, not to stay, just to rest her forehead briefly against mine. A pause that said everything words couldn't fix. Then she pulled back. You'll be okay, she said. You too. We both knew it wasn't true yet. But it sounded right enough to believe for a moment. At the door, she turned, gave me a small smile. Don't stop coming for coffee, she said. I smiled back. Only if you promise not to serve it. Her laugh lingered even after she left, soft, real, like closure learning how to breathe. And when the silence settled again, it didn't feel empty anymore. Just, okay. A year passed before I saw her again. The cafe had changed owners, new paint, new staff, same quiet hum at 8:47 a.m. I still came sometimes, out of habit. Maybe out of something else. I'd sit by the window, the one where it all started, with the same black coffee I used to order. No sugar now. I'd grown used to the bitterness. That morning, I looked up from my cup, and there she was. Same scarf, different color. Same calm presence, softer now. She stood at the counter, ordering tea. Jasmine. She noticed me almost instantly, that small flick of her eyes, then the faintest smile. Not surprise. More like recognition. Like the universe had quietly kept a seat for us and decided today was the day. She walked over, cautious at first. Still no milk, she asked, like no time had passed. Still Jasmine. I replied. We both smiled. She sat across from me, setting her cup down. For a while, we didn't talk, just watched the steam curl between us. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. Just, shared. How've you been? She asked eventually. Better, I said. Design work steady. Moved apartments. Less rain leaking through the windows. She nodded. That's good. And you? She took a slow sip before answering. The cafe I'm at now, smaller place near the park. Quieter. My son comes by sometimes. That's good too. She smiled. Yeah. It is. Outside, a couple of kids ran past the window, chasing each other through puddles. The light was soft, the day unhurried. I noticed her looking at them, that same faraway look she used to get before closing time. Only this time, there was peace in it. Do you still take walks? I asked. Every evening, she said. Still have that umbrella you hated? I laughed quietly. It was too small. It was perfect, she said. You just stood too close. For a second, her gaze held mine, steady, warm, unashamed. The air between us filled with the quiet understanding of everything that once was, and everything that no longer needed to be. She reached across the table and adjusted my sleeve, a small, familiar gesture. The same way she once fixed my collar. But this time, it didn't feel like crossing a line. It just felt like care. We finished our drinks slowly. No rush. When she stood to leave, I did too. At the door, she paused. Coffee tomorrow? I smiled. If you promise not to serve it. Her laughter returned, that same soft sound that had once ended a night and started something else. As she stepped outside, the light caught in her hair just the way it did on that rainy bench. I watched until she disappeared around the corner, my reflection still in the glass beside hers. I took a sip of the last of my coffee, now cold, now mine, and whispered to no one, 8:47 a.m. again. And somehow, that felt enough. Did this story stay with you? What kind of quiet, real love stories do you want to hear next?